Hey everybody, Parallel here. Welcome back to Star Trek Online. How's everyone doing today? In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at the new Bio-Engineered Furiadon, also known as the laser dinosaur. Well, at least that's what I call it. It is a very cool new combat pet that is a reward from the 2018 Into the Breach event. And so if you've been grinding this for the last 14 days, you probably just got your hands on this pet in the last few days here. If you want to get your hands on this pet and you haven't started grinding the event yet, you will have to start right away. But you would be able to purchase the new Voth transmission pack from the C store, which gives you 10 Voth transmissions. And then you only need to run the event 4 more times and you will be able to make it. But let's go ahead and take a look at this pet first and see how it actually performs in combat. Since this is a combat pet, it does take up a device slot on your character page. So that means there is a little bit of opportunity cost to using this, because you will have to sacrifice one of your other devices. And there are some really good ground devices out there, like a gambling device, Shard of Possibilities I got here, and also the Paradox Corrector. That's the one I took out here. It's a little more situational, so we'll slot it in place. And of course, you're going to want to have some hypos. So here it is, the Bioengineered Furiadon. Not a whole lot of information on the tooltip, but it does summon a pet, combat pet that's one level above your character. Right now I'm on Kobali Prime, so I'm synced down to level 52. And so it's level 53. In a 65 zone, it's 66. So that's pretty standard. Same with the Shard of Possibilities. So in fact, I am going to compare these two pets, since they are both ground devices and combat pets. It should make a good comparison, see which one's better. And I just want to see what this thing looks like in combat. I haven't actually used this dinosaur in combat yet, so I want to see what its attacks look like and if it does much damage, and see if it's worth it. So we're taking a look at all that, the visuals and everything. Yeah, we'll see how it looks. I mean, it's a laser dinosaur. It's got to look cool, right? So just one thing to mention, that this does have a long cooldown time of 5 minutes, like the Shard of Possibilities. So with that long of a cooldown time, that leaves some time to discuss some other topics while we're waiting to use the pet again and show it in the video. So what I'd like to do is, while we're waiting for it to cool down, I'm going to discuss another topic, which is the random task force operations. Cryptic has been pretty active on Reddit over the last week, soliciting feedback from the community regarding this new feature. For anyone who's not aware, the random task force operations feature will be coming in Age of Discovery, and it's basically what it sounds like. You'll be able to, queue up for a random PvE queue, and it will just place you into one randomly with a group, and then you'll be able to complete it and get extra rewards for the random queue. And Cryptic, I've seen Ambassador Kale, and even I think Bordicus was on Reddit looking for feedback on this, and there has been quite a bit of feedback from the community, and I also have my own opinions and feedback that I would like to give, some suggestions in this video. So we'll do that at the same time here. We're taking a look at the Bioengineered Furiadon pet. If you have completed the Reputation project, you can reclaim this on any one of your characters in your account if you just go to the Dilithium store and go to the Reclaim tab, and I believe it is, yep, right there, Bioengineered Furiadon. So you can reclaim this on all of your characters, which is great. So you only have to complete it once. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at this thing in combat. Take a look at the visuals on it, and yeah, I want to see what its attacks look like. I haven't actually seen it yet. Does it really have lasers? I want to know. Alright, we'll go ahead and put my bridge officers on passive here. Since this is a combat pet, I'm a little bit worried that it will die right away from getting aggro, and the enemies will just take it out right away. So what should I do here? I think I will go in here and try to get some of their attention. There we go. Alright, let's summon him in. Go get him, Dino. There he goes. Oh, check that out. He's got some kind of a roar. He's got a laser beam. Oh, he's already taking damage. Took that guy out. He does 80 damage, not the worst. 80 to 90 damage. Not great. Oh, he got taken out. There's his death animation. So that was pretty cool. So he's got some kind of a little AoE roar ability and then the laser beam eyes. So those are the only 2 attacks that I saw. But it looks pretty cool. He's definitely a really cool looking thing. You know, damage is not too great. Let's quickly compare to the Shard of Possibilities here. He did die, so I'm not quite sure the full duration. We'll check that here after the next cooldown. But, you know, Shard of Possibilities is also really cool. I'm kind of curious if it does similar damage, 80 to 90 damage. Uh-oh. They're going crazy on the Boudoir Tech Officer over here. The fact that there's 2 of them... How much damage you guys doing? Shoot him again. They do 2 shots. 134. The damage is all over the place. 66, 66, 61, 54, 128. That must have combined them. They did take him out. So I'd say, at least so far, they seem to do a little bit more damage, especially for the fact that there's 2 of them. Oh, they're gone. Alright, so let's head out of here. And we'll give this guy another try here in 3 minutes. Having such a long cooldown time is a little bit unfortunate, but we will... I want to see if they last as long as the Shard of Possibilities. I believe the Shard of Possibility pets last for a full minute, which is actually not bad. Let's go ahead and get out of combat here. Alright, so while we're waiting for the cooldown, like I said, I do want to give some feedback on random task force operations. There we go. And so, random task force operations, there are definitely some issues that have been identified by the community. I also agree with many of these things that Reddit has brought up already. Although I do have a few things I do want to mention that I haven't seen mentioned anywhere else yet that hopefully might be some good feedback for Cryptic. But the first thing that everyone realized when Cryptic announced this is that there's one major issue that's very obvious right off the bat, and that is the separation between, or the, let's put it this way, the lack of separation between queuing for space and queuing for ground. Obviously, ground and space combat is very different in Star Trek Online, and the way the Cryptic proposed this feature is it's just going to be a button here on your PvE queue screen where you just say queue for random, and it will place you into a random space or random ground queue. But that is a pretty significant problem because there are some systems in Star Trek Online that are not properly set up for space or ground, or that is, it does not automatically detect whether you're going to space or ground, and that is in particular your specializations and your active traits, your active reputation traits. These are not separated into space and ground, so you can only spec for one at a time. So that's an issue. Like for example, you can see personal traits are fine, right? Because you have your ground traits and your space traits, and it will just select whichever ones are to use, you know, based on what map you're on. So if you're on a space map, it'll use your space traits. Ground map, it'll use your ground traits. Same thing with your reputation traits. Same thing with like your skills. You got your ground skills and your space skills. They're already separated. Unfortunately, for specializations, they are not separated. So usually when people go ground, they're going to want to have commando as their secondary. And when they go space, you know, they're going to want to have strategist as their secondary, or pilot, or whatever. So that's going to be a big issue because if you're set up for space and you get thrown into a random ground queue, you are going to be, let's say, suboptimal in comparison to, you know, if you were actually spec'd for ground combat. So that's a big problem. And Reddit obviously identified this right away as well. It's just unfortunate. So the community did have some good suggestions on how to deal with that, but I do see my cooldown is back up. So let's give this good dinosaur another try. I'm just gonna summon him right here, and I just want to take a look at the model up close and measure how long he lasts. So I got 30 seconds left. So when this timer gets to 0, let's see if he lasts at least 30 seconds. And let's take a look at his model here. He's looking really cool. He's got kind of battle armor on here. Cool looking Voth looking battle armor. Can't really see his eyes. Seems to be covered up by this helmet here. There he goes. Wow, it only lasts, I mean, just under 30 seconds even. Didn't even last for a full 30 seconds. That is a bit disappointing because Shard of Possibilities last for a long time. Let's go ahead and summon these guys. These last for almost a full minute, which is actually really nice. So, but it is very much graphically a very cool looking model for this Furiadon pet. The duration just seems too short. Given a 5-minute cooldown, I think a 1-minute duration would have been much better. Okay, so let's wait for the cooldown here again and continue talking about the random queue feature. So yes, so the problem is that it's going to throw you into either a space or ground queue and you're going to be suboptimally prepared, your spec's not going to be right. Now, what are the solutions to this? So the obvious solution, probably the quickest and dirtiest solution, I think easiest to implement, would be Cryptic could just put, 2 buttons here, Q for space, Q for ground. That would pretty much resolve the issue. Then you could set up your specialization and your active traits before you queue up and you'd be all set. The only thing is, I think Cryptic is reluctant to do this, because I think one of the design goals here is that Cryptic wants to kind of get players who use some of the, let's say, the underused queues. Like, they want to be able to balance the, matchmaking to put people into queues more quickly, and it wants to put them into random queues that are not used, and they want to have all of this content sitting here, like all of the, I'm just scrolling through the list here, but there is tons of PvE queues here that just never get played, and obviously Cryptic wants people to play these, so since that's their design goal, I think they want to leave the random queue matching up and have it open to like everything right away, so people will get put into ground queues that maybe aren't used as much, or it'll force people to try ground combat that maybe don't use it as much. I can see the reasoning for doing that, but given the limitations of the game, I don't know if that's possible right away, or at least I don't think it would be a good idea, because you're going to be putting people into content that they don't necessarily want to play. In particular, because ground and space combat is so different. There are a lot of people that only like space combat in this game, so having an option to do space only would be much preferable for that type of player. Another possible solution would be, just to actually update the game systems for specialization and for active traits and make them actually context sensitive to what zone you're in. So instead of just having specializations here, you'd have space specialization and then ground specialization, and then you'd select what you want for each type of map. That would actually work really, really well. In fact, that's honestly something the community's been asking for a very long time, because even when you're just doing missions, just regular story missions, you're going to be going between space and ground, and you want to be able to take advantage of all your traits, so all your specializations and your active traits. So why not? Why not having here have active reputation space, active reputation ground? That would work well, and it'd be consistent with all the other systems. So I think that's probably the most robust and future-proof type solution. Obviously, that's also require a lot of coding and development effort on Cryptic's part, so it may not be possible. I don't know if they have the resources to do that before before the Age of Discovery. So, but that being the case, I still would think that'd be the best solution. So that Cryptic, I would say definitely go with that. That'd be the best for the future of the game as well. It would make the most sense. It'd make all of the systems consistent. They'd all be friendly to space and ground zones, and it would really make it work so much better. I think that's the best solution. Now, I did have one other kind of idea here, and a few seconds left on my Furiadon, but one other idea here that I haven't seen suggested anywhere else, and this is also kind of a half solution. I'm not even sure if I like it myself, but as I was brainstorming different ideas here, one thing I came up with is I was looking at the constable specialization, and this specialization, Cryptic actually designed this so every single trait you unlock in the constable specialization gives bonuses for ground and space. So what they could do, if Cryptic wanted to, is they could actually go to specializations like Commando that are basically only for ground, and they could go in and make all of these abilities also have bonuses for space. And they could go to another one like Strategist, which is, pretty much only for space, and have all of these traits have bonuses for ground. So that, in other words, make all of the specializations have bonuses for space and ground. That way you could at least not feel gimped when you're doing one type of content or the other. You're at least, your specialization is benefiting in both maps. But that would not be as robust of a solution as actually having specializations for space and ground, because maybe you want to go command on the ground and intel in space, and that type of thing wouldn't really be solved by that kind of a system. All right, so those are my suggestions there. I still think the best solution is Cryptic. Just allocate the time to do the full solution with having specializations separated for space and ground, and active traits for space and ground. It's the most robust, it's the most future-proof, it's the most consistent with current game systems. It just makes the most sense for your game. Alright, so let's summon our dinosaur one more time here. See if we can get him to attack. Go get him, Dino. Do something, Dino. You're not doing anything. Do I need to attack? There he goes. Roar. Okay, so his roar did do okay damage. Did like 131. Oh, took him out. Oh, yeah, tail spin. He has a melee attack. Oh, and a bite. There you go. And there's the laser eyes. Okay. So that's a pretty cool little pet there, I gotta say. The animations, art team, you guys did a great job. And there he goes. Did a great job. He's got some melee attacks. He's got a bite and a tail whip. He's got a pretty cool looking laser beam and that roar. Kind of, it looks like a conal AoE type thing. Didn't do great damage, but it's okay. I mean, his damage seems to be on par with the Shard of Possibilities, at least one of the characters. But with Shard of Possibilities, you get two characters. And they last for a whole minute. I think that's my main thing, would be to say to Cryptic, just buff the Furiadon a little bit to make it at least last a minute long. Whoa, Shard of Possibilities, where'd you guys go? They, like, disappeared. Okay. Well, they usually last a minute, unless they run off and bug out. Okay, so, yeah, back to random task force operations. So, those are the three suggestions I have as far as separating space from ground. Obviously that was also the biggest issue identified by the community. Now, there is some other issues here. Now, the other issue is that, I'm not sure quite how to categorize this, but the fact that there are, the queues themselves, the maps themselves, the missions are not very well balanced. Some take a really long time, some are very short, some have very strict fail conditions, some are brain dead easy and it's almost impossible to fail. And some of them have like specific needs too, like environmental suits, or like there's even like the competitive queues that maybe you want a PvP gear. So there are those kind of issues, kind of the, I don't know if you call that like just having bad queues or having situational needs based on certain queues. And that's also a problem because, I've seen this happen. So, a lot of other MMOs have implemented a similar random dungeon finder. World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV, lots of them have done this. And I think in general it's a good idea. It's worked well in a lot of games. It does get people to try content that's less used. But what happens, and I've seen this happen in other MMOs, like for example in Final Fantasy XIV, when you queue up for a random dungeon in that game, there's one particular dungeon called Aurum Vale. And whenever anyone gets queued into that dungeon, what happens is that particular dungeon is, you know, way longer and way more difficult for its level range than like any other dungeon. And what happens is, as soon as someone gets into that dungeon, they just quit out. So what happens is you zone into that dungeon, and then like the tank will quit, the healer will quit, you know, then another person will come in, they'll see it's Orm Vale, they'll quit, and you just get into this cycle of no one wants to play that particular instance. They'd rather just quit out, queue up for another random dungeon, and just hope it's not Orm Vale. And I could see happening with other queues here, like, I don't know, like Azure Nebula, you know. That's kind of buggy right now, and it's kind of a pain. It has, you know, strict conditions, and probably what's going to happen is people queue up, they'll see it's Azure Nebula, and they'll say, "Oh, forget it, I'm going to quit." And you get into this bad cycle where people are zoning in, and quitting, and it makes for a really bad experience. So that is another issue. And plus, you know, like I said, some queues may require an environmental suit. That's going to be another issue because there's not like a conditional way to equip environmental suit, and so on. So it's, you know, there are certain queues that I think will cause a problem with a random queuing system. Now, you know, what's the way to fix this? Now, this is a little more tricky. I don't really know of a good way to fix this. The only thing I can think of is that Cryptic's going to have to go through one by one and cherry pick the queues that they think are quote-unquote ready for random queue finder. I don't think they can just blanket include everything. So it's kind of kludgy solution, but, you know, maybe it'll work if they just, at least maybe for the first iteration, right? So in the first iteration, Cryptic can just say, okay, we've looked at this, and there's some queues that we just don't think would fit well into the random dungeon, you know, random queue finder, and we want to eliminate them, or we're just going to leave them out of the random queue pool until we've either balanced them or had a chance to revisit them, or added game systems that allow you to, you know, equip environmental suits or that kind of thing. So I think that's the best solution there. Just exclude certain egregious offenders, you know, from the queue system. Oh, there's someone here now. But and then you should be in okay shape. It might be a little bit controversial which ones you pick to eliminate. Oh, guy's got the Ferengi whip. Yeah, it might be a little bit controversial what you choose to eliminate or include, but I think it's needed because, like I said, you're just going to get into a situation where there's some queues that people just hate, and whenever they get in there, they're just going to drop and try to random for something else, and it just makes for a really bad experience for anyone joining the random queue. All right, so my time is up here again. Let's take a look at the... I don't know why that shot twice, but okay. Go get him, dinosaur. Take this guy out. Yeah, that's right, roar on him. Come here, go bite him. Okay, I guess you're just gonna laser eyes him. Where are you going? Oh, he found someone else to pick on. Okay. I'll get your back here, dinosaur. Yeah. Oh yeah, roared on him to death. So, yeah. Definitely really cool in the graphics compartment. It's just awesome having your own dinosaur pet, right? Everyone's always loved the Voth Battle Zone for the dinosaurs, you know, the big T-Rexes and everything, so that's really cool. So definite thumbs up on the graphics of the pet. I think my main complaint is just that the duration needs to be a bit longer, and I think it's a pretty fun little pet. Alright, so just to close this out here, I do have one other, so there's one other main thing I want to talk about regarding the random task force operations. And that is the rewards. And this is critical. Cryptic, the rewards have to be good. They have to be worth your while. You will find, I think, that the community will put up with quite a bit of crap if the rewards are worth it. Even if they get put into ground queues that they don't like, or even if they put into a space queue, you know, for Azure Nebula and it keeps failing, people will put up with a lot of stuff if the rewards are worthwhile. And from what I've seen, at least initially when they released this on the blog, the only rewards you get for this is a little bit extra marks and a little bit of extra dill. That I don't think is going to be enough. Because, I mean, why bother with a system if it's just a little bit of extra marks and dilithium? You can just play non-random queues, maybe like do one extra non-random queue and earn that another way there. Why risk going for, you know, a random queue that you might be frustrated with when you can just do a couple queues that you would enjoy, even if it might take a little bit longer overall? It'd be less frustrating, more enjoyable, and you'd get almost the same rewards anyway. So I just don't think a few extra marks and a little bit of extra dilithium is enough. There have been some good suggestions in the community about this, as well as some, you know, what are some rewards you can have. I mean, a lot of people, myself included, think you really need something unique. There has to be something unique to random queues to actually get people to do them. Some unique reward. I mean, there have been suggestions all over the place. I know some people have recommended things like, you know, add some low-buy. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Cryptic is pretty much set on low-buy being for, you know, from lockboxes only at this point. But that would be cool. Some people recommend at least adding elite marks to the reward pool. That would be something maybe would get people to do it. Now, my suggestion here, I haven't seen this suggested anywhere else, but my suggestion would be to add fleet credits as the reward. Not fleet marks, fleet credits. Which would actually be quite unique. That would make it the only way to get fleet credits other than donating to fleet projects. And I think it would solve another problem I've always had with Star Trek Online, is that grinding fleet credits can be incredibly annoying and unintuitive and just frustrating, because I've been in a lot of different fleets, and most fleets are pretty mature at this point, and they don't have a lot of open projects that are where you're able to donate fleet marks, or almost anything, honestly. The only thing that you'll always find is that dilithium is the only thing that people need to donate to fleet projects, and no one wants to donate dilithium because it's a very, very low reward in fleet credits per dilithium. You only get 1 fleet credit per dilithium, so no one wants to donate it. But the issue is that there's no consistent way to get fleet credits. It's very difficult to get fleet credits in almost any mature fleet. There's just no projects that you can donate to other than dilithium, and like I said, that's its own problem. So adding fleet credits to another system, like the random task force operation, I think would be awesome. That would be a really good incentive to doing it. It would really help new players. You know, when they join a fleet, maybe they're join, like the Reddit fleet or something. That's a very mature fleet. They don't have a lot of projects for people to donate to get fleet credits. And you need a lot of fleet credits nowadays to unlock, trait slots, DOF slots, to get all of your fleet gear that you need. It's just, there's so much fleet credit grinding you need to do that it's very difficult to do that consistently when fleet projects are almost never available. Having that source of fleet credits, I think, would work really, really well. And I don't think it would, impact the economy at all, because, everything you get with fleet credits is always either bound to character, it can't be traded, so it shouldn't affect the economy much at all, as, adding something like low buy or something probably would have an impact on the economy, but, well, I guess low buy is all character bound as well. But, although you can do low buy for low buy ships and then put those on the exchange, so yes, it would impact the economy. So I guess that would be my suggestion there. Some unique reward that really makes the random task force operations worth it. The reward has to be there. That is the critical thing. People, I think, the player base will overlook a lot of other failings if the rewards are good. So Cryptic, please make the rewards good. Don't put some miserly rewards on there. Be generous. Put a unique reward in there. Whatever it is, it has to be something that's worth it. It can't just be a few extra marks in dilithium. That I don't think that's going to do it. So that is my feedback there, guys. let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I mean, and give your feedback to Cryptic. Go on Reddit to give your feedback in the thread. You can, definitely Bordicus and Ambassador Kale are listening. They are reading through the feedback. They are interested in this topic, so it's a good time to do it now before Age of Discovery goes live. And we're ended up with, we don't want to end up with another system that ends up never being used and just kind of falls by the wayside like so many things before it. So if we want this to be a really good system, this is the time to give your feedback. And let's go ahead and summon Dino one more time here. There he is, guys. Pretty cool looking. And there he goes. Definitely not a long enough duration. I missed him already. But, yep, so make sure you get your hands on the Furiadon pet. It is a lot of fun. If you don't have the Shard of Possibilities, I think it's a pretty decent pet. If you do have the Shard of Possibilities, I wouldn't replace it. It is a dinosaur, so there is that. It definitely has the cool factor, and it does. Cryptic did a really good job on the art, and the animations look pretty good. But yeah, it's not going to be doing the most damage in the world, so don't expect a whole lot from it. But just have fun with it. All right, guys, I think that pretty much covers it. Thank you very much for watching, and bye for now.